Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in creating this Leaping Lizards Bracelet. This is a throwback, we haven't done one in a while, for a 2-needle project. This is a great beginner project utilizing some different beads that you may not have seen before. And if you need any of those beads, make sure to check out the links below in the description of the video to get links to all of those products to shop with us online. Gather up your supplies as well as your beading surface, like a bead on a board or a mat, and we'll get ready to get started in creating this nice and simple yet fun bracelet design. To begin our design, I have 4 beads. That's it. I have some 4mm bicones in that nice green opal color, some IrisDuos in Aztec Gold, some Silky beads in Jade Picasso, and a 11/0 seed bead in the Crystal Lab Fool. The first thing I have is 2 size 10 needles on about 5 feet of 0.006 green beading thread. I'm going to put onto my thread and needle one of my 11/0 seed bead, one of my crystals, and one 11/0 seed bead. I have a cup button that I'm going to use for the closure, and in that same finish, that Jade Picasso, like our Silky bead. I'm going to take my needle and thread and go through the cup button so that way I have the bowl side facing up and the flat side facing down. That's going to pop that crystal right in the middle there, and we're going to want to make sure that we have equal amounts of thread now on either side of our needle. Coming out the back of our button, I want you to add 1 and 2 of your 11/0s to your right needle and 1 and 2 11/0s to your left needle. We're going to crisscross through our next 4mm bicone. This is going to happen at all the intersections when we go from the first portion of, or finish one set of the design and go on to the next. One needle goes from the left to the right and the other from the right to the left. And we let that once again, go back down towards the clasp, making sure that we have an equal amount of beads on either side. After adding this clasp now, we're going to go in and get ready to add our first of our IrisDuos along the center row. So to do so, I want you to add 3 11s on both the right needle as well as the left. We're then going to pick up our IrisDuos. You want to make sure that the IrisDuos are facing the same direction, so the right needle is going to go through the bottom holes from the right side to the left side. The left needle is going to go from the left side to the right side through that same first hole. So you're only going through that first hole of your IrisDuo. Once again, just make sure until you're further established along in your bracelet to make sure your thread ends match on either side. That creates that little almost kiss of your IrisDuos. We're going to proceed by adding some more beads, 3 to be exact, going from one hole to another in the IrisDuo. The thread that is at the bottom hole is going to go from the bottom hole to the top hole after adding in those 3 beads. Everything you do on the right, you are going to mirror with the left. If that means putting your needle and thread down and poking them into your bead surface, that is fine. Pick up, use the right hand as well to do the left side, and then go towards the middle also. Currently now your thread and needle are both in that middle, sitting and waiting for our next bead. Our next bead is going to be our Silky bead. So our Silky bead, we are going to cross through that first hole just like we've been doing with our IrisDuo beads, and then progress. So just like that, I'm going to take my thread and needle, go through my Silky bead, right to left with my one, and then with the other, left to right. Give a nice tight little pull and pull that right into that middle there. From here, your needle that's on the right is going to go into that IrisDuo on the right. So I'm going to push that left thread over. It gets easier as you're working with it because the thread gets shorter. You're going to go back through the IrisDuo here and out. Once you're out through the IrisDuo on the right side, we're going to add some beads to go along the side of the piece. So I'm going to take my left needle, do the exact same thing now, going out through that bottom IrisDuo. Once we're out through the bottom IrisDuo, we're going to add some 11/0s as well as another one of our 4mm crystals to sit on the side of our piece. So once you're to the outside here of your IrisDuos, you can see I already did one, just like the sample, so that way you could see it in progression. And you're on the outside of your IrisDuos, and you're going to add a combination of 1 11, one of your 4mm beads, and 1 11/0 seed bead. From there, if you need to, you can lay your IrisDuos down, so that way they can touch there at the top and you know which way they need to face. You're going to sew through your IrisDuo, your Silky, and your next IrisDuo. So you're sewing straight through there. And on the other side, same thing, 11, 4mm, 11, and then your beads are already there, straight through the IrisDuo, the Silky, the IrisDuo on the other side. Now, you might look at the sample and see that there's no gap between the beads, and here there's a little bit of gapping. We're going to come the whole way back down the bracelet, run our thread through our seed beads, cross over, and make that a seamless line as we progress. From here on the outer edge, we're going to repeat what we did earlier. You get 3 11/0s, and you're going to sew from the bottom hole to the top hole of the IrisDuo that the thread is already coming out of. And then go over straight across to the opposite IrisDuo. Same thing here, 3 beads go on, and we're going to mimic on the other side. So again, when it comes to 2-needle projects, generally speaking, anything you do on one side, you're going to do on the other side. Push those down a little bit. Coming out the end of the IrisDuo then, you're going to get ready once again to crisscross through your 4mm bead. 2 11s go on, followed by your 4mm. Pick up your other needle. 2 11s go on, and then you're going to cross through that 4mm. So you're crisscrossing through there. Pull that tight down next to your IrisDuos, and then we start over. On go 1 and 2 of your 11s. Pick up your IrisDuos and sew straight over through the first hole from the right to the left. Same thing on the other side. Grab your needle and thread, add your 2 11/0 seed beads, sew now from the left side over to the right. Once you sew over to that opposite side then, anytime you are crisscrossing through the beads, just give a tight little pull to tighten up the pattern. Now once again, 3 beads go on the right and the left, cross through the Silky, add our seed bead, 4 seed bead, cross through, adding another set of IrisDuos, and continue on the whole length of the bracelet. Once you get to the end here, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units, and my bracelet's going to be about 7 1/4. You may need 8 units if you need it to be a little bit bigger. I'm coming out of my last one of my crystals there, and I have 2 beads here to start making my loop. So I'm going to add, and I have the 2 beads in case I needed more, I was going to continue on. I'm going to add my loop here just with one side of my bead. So it's usually a good idea to kind of clean up your bead mat a little bit. You have usually 28 beads that are going to go onto this. So I already have 2 and then 4, and we'll do 5, 6, 7, 22, 3, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. All right, those 28 beads are on there. And I'm going to take my thread and needle back through the opposite side and down through the crystal. That makes my loop for my button to sit inside of. On the other side, I'm going to go back through all of those seed beads, reinforcing this loop. So you want to make sure to do this at least 2 times. You can even do it 3 if you want to. And just keep an eye on the seed beads, making sure that as you're going back through them, you don't miss any. It's kind of defeating when you get done and realize that you have a little bit of thread on the outside of a bead, so just be conscious of that. After you have at least 2 passes of thread going through that crystal, give a nice tight pull, and then before you continue on, make sure that your project fits you. Continuing on, Very, very simple. We're going back down to reinforce the button clasp, and we're also going to make this look nice and seamless. Your one needle is going to one side, one needle to the other side, and you're just going to sew straight down the line of seed beads, through the crystal, straight over to the next line of seed beads. See how that pulls it together just a little bit? When you get to the crystal then, the thread that's here on the right-hand side that I'm doing goes over to the left. And done. Pick up your left thread now, reinforce going back on this left side, and then once again as I get to that center crystal, we're going to crisscross through it. And same thing here as you're going back through the sides of your bracelet. Make sure, which this is going to pucker it up just a tiny little bit so those silky beads sit to the top. You want to make sure after you do each time of your thread crossing to give a nice little tight pull to force that bead up, as well as make it a nice seamless line with your seed beads. I'm going to continue on now, making my lizards leap up a little bit, going down that full line of seed beads, through the crystal, and then crisscrossing through my 4mm bicone. Continue doing this the whole length of the bracelet, and then we'll get back and we'll reinforce our button clasp with the additional thread that we have. So when you get to the end here, you can see just that little bit of pucker up, that it sits nicely there, just puffed up a little bit towards the center. If you don't like that look and you don't want that puff up look, just simply add an 11-0 seed bead after the group of seed bead, crystal seed bead, as you're running back and going through with your thread on that final pass. I'm at the end here and I'm crisscrossing through that bicone. I'm going to take my thread up through the 11-0 seed beads on the right hand side, through the 11-0 at the top, through the crystal, and down through the 11-0 and down through the seed beads on the side. I'm going to do the same thing here with the other side, so I'm getting 3 passes going through this cup button. And this really is the advantage of that multi-needle, is that when you're using and doing the 2-needle method, you can add your clasps usually right at the beginning, so you don't have to do that after the fact. Go through the crystal afterwards so your threads are meeting on the same side, and then simply tie your thread ends together. So I still have both of my needle and thread on. You can say I had about an extra 2 feet worth of thread. So if you want to use a little bit less, I always like to have more than enough, just in case. And then after those thread ties, I'm going to take one of my needles and go down into the project to separate out the thread, so that way my knots are not ending in the same location. And I'm going to go up through here because I can easily tuck my thread underneath. Take your thread burner or your thread zap, burn off the thread, and then burn that thread edge down into the cup button underneath the crystal. On the other side here, same thing. Go ahead and burn that thread down towards your project and finish off your piece. The nice thing is with the green thread and the green beads, it's just going to fade really well into the bracelet and into the design. It's a really, really nice and simple look to it that you can achieve with just a simple list of materials, and you can also change some of these beads out for others. Your spacing will just be a little bit different. Thanks so much for joining me in the creation of this Leaping Lizards bracelet. I did want to show how nice it is also as a necklace. It has a great turn. You can attach chain to the back, or even if you want to, you can make a pair of earrings with that design. And go ahead and comment below, give us a little feedback, and let us know what colors you're using, as well as if you made any changes. That really helps out this amazing beading community that we have had the honor of helping to springboard. Remember, if you haven't yet, and I noticed a lot of you don't, subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. In addition to that, you can give a little thumbs up if you like the 2-needle projects, and comment below on your opinion actually of the 2-needle projects. Do you prefer one? Do you like two? And give the reasons why. As always, if you do need any materials or a beading surface, go ahead and check out the links in the description to shop with us online at PotomacBeads.com, as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Thanks so much for joining me today and creating, and hopefully you have enjoyed making your Leaping Lizards design bracelet.